Good. One today is Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. Update for Wednesday the 12th. All right, let's go. With no setups going into tomorrow, this TARS looks like it still has potential. Not a whole lot showing up. There are a lot of shorts, obviously, and longer term downtrends that have pulled back a little bit. At this juncture, you want to try to get in as close to the first leg as possible. Sort of like a bow tie off for major highs. It's such as the TARS, for instance. Not much to report in the portfolio. We'll take a look at that real quick. So that's CCL. A nice probe lower, but Flatsville by the end of the day. So TARS is what I'm saying. A lot of these stocks out here I'm seeing are in much longer downtrend, something like this, and then are beginning to pull back. At this stage of a bear market, if it is a bear market, when you're first beginning to roll over, you want to try to catch these stocks that are at higher levels such as this. But let's wait and see if we finally get a pullback, which we didn't obviously get today. Pretty amazing how stretched we are in here. But only a few stocks showing up. Nothing I feel like I need to go after at this juncture. Like this DoorDash, ideally I like to see it bounce a little bit more. I guess if I was just seeing this for the first time and the market was hitting new highs, this would be kind of a first thrust type of setup because it did make a higher high and higher low. But given the nature of the market, I'd like to see a little bit more bounce before getting too excited. Speaking of the market, let's take a look at that and a few other things, obviously. First of all, the P's, you can see, sold off really hard. Bit of a bummer. This is really an amazing oversold market. Just absolutely imploded in here. This little spill back here was fairly ugly, too, as you can see. And this one didn't quite get to the 200, but this one did. And there's different little metrics you can look at. It says, well, we've given up everything since last August. And there's two ways of looking at that. Like, that's horrible. And the other thing is, longer term, it's not necessarily the end of the world. But you know the routine, one day at a time. We obviously had short-term sell signals trigger. We could get a TFM 10% system on Friday. The Qs have already technically triggered that. But because I'm using a calendar week, they'll have to stay closed below the 10% line and the moving average on Friday to make it official. Anyway, NASDAQ composite kind of flatsville after being all over the place, down a smidge on the day. It too, as you can see, super duper oversold in here. Rusty 2000, Flatsville, so far rollover remains intact there. A lot of areas, as I've been saying quite a bit, have taken off and come all the way back. Yeah, transport is one of these areas that really got hit hard today, and not that it hadn't looked fairly ugly earlier, and areas within the transport, such as jets, not looking so pretty. As you can see, internet all the way down here, the 200-day moving average bouncing a little bit, but not enough to get excited about just yet. Gold commodity did catch a bit of a bid today. Gold stocks actually did okay. They're a little wide and loose as of late, and you know gold, it can be wide and loose long term, but if I see anything here, I'll be happy to show it to you. I did see a couple, but they were just kind of all over the place and not really worth going after. Software, just a little bit of a bounce below 200. There's just not a whole lot new to report tonight. Did we talk about the Rusty Flatsville way down here at these multi-month lows? Banks looking ugly. They continue to slide in here. Did off the worst levels, still down fairly hard nonetheless. It's interesting when the market implodes like it has lately. 0.75% doesn't look like much. Almost looks like a victory, right? But that's a pretty significant move lower, and it did probe multi-year lows. Mags continue to look ugly in here. A little tiny bit of a bounce today, inside day, but still look ugly nonetheless. Major drugs beginning to correct in here. They were bottoming out for a while. Still look like they're kind of bottomed out. Kind of hard to get excited about a bottom near a longer term high like this, but it's just on a relative strength basis, one of the fewer better areas out there. Speaking of better area, here's health services, but it's now broken down back below that 200-day moving average. So that's certainly a bit of a bummer there. Semiconductors, just a smidge lower on the day after bouncing around a bit, but they look fairly ugly in here. And like I've been saying quite a bit, lots of overhead supply. Financials off the worst levels, but still down nearly 1% nonetheless. So that's another area looking pretty ugly. Looks like it wants to come down here. Challenge a 200-day moving average, which would correspond to a little bit of support. I think that's pretty much it. Not a tremendous amount has changed. I'm kind of shocked that the market really didn't bounce more than it did, or hasn't really bounced yet. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon. So we are still super oversold in here. The VIX is overbought, remains overbought, 20% plus away from that 10-day simple moving average. Tailed off a little today, but let's just take things one day at a time. It's almost like this market feels like it needs a little bit more of a washout. It really can't catch a bid based on the intraday balances are fairly anemic in here. So again, one day at a time. Don't be a hero if you try to play this VIX stuff. Just go in for a little bit intraday and be careful. And it's amazing how much the volatility is. And sometimes just a 1 or 200 shares, you'd be surprised at how much that can add up really quickly because the market is kind of all over the place. So I think what I'm trying to say is just be careful out there. Let it shake out. Let everybody else fight it out for the most part. Unless we see the mother of all spikes lower and the mother of all spikes in the VIX tomorrow and some sort of reversing action intraday, the best action is probably just sit on your hands, let things shake out. Once we get a bounce, then we'll reevaluate and decide what our next move is. Likely some shorts, again, unless we see the mother of all bounces. Everybody have a fantastic night. We're talking tomorrow. Thanks so much.